You send somebody a second message in one afternoon, and your thumb just sits there hovering over the send button a beat longer than needed. You read your words back. You're working out whether you sound clingy or you sound annoying or you sound greedy with somebody's plain Wednesday. So you tack completely fine either way onto the end of a perfectly plain question, purely as cover. Cover against what, though, exactly? Nobody asked you for paperwork on being alive. Yet here you just sit filing some anyway, over a message about weekend plans. Writing and rewriting a line that any plain normal person would fire an answer back to in 4 seconds. Most people would file this under thoughtful or just easy company. And at face value, sure, that's how it looks. Somebody kind, somebody with no wish to put anyone out. Except under all that good manners, something a lot heavier is usually steering. And it has very little to do with being polite. It's the quiet standing belief that having you around draws down somebody's supply and that the rationing catches up sooner or later. Here's what makes this one odd next to most of the patterns going around online. It holds up against proof. Somebody can love you well, turn up for you every time, say to your face that you're no trouble at all, and none of it quite sticks. You'll thank them, mean it, and still hear that same low hum going underneath, like the reassurance was true for everybody else it was ever offered to, and somehow not you. That's a strange breed of stubbornness. Most beliefs update once enough proof piles up against them. This one just quietly strains the proof out first. So where does that strainer get fitted? Usually early and usually somewhere thoroughly ordinary. Nothing that needs a big flashback. A house where the love was real, really real, but the attention ran short, split across parents working long hours or siblings whose needs came in louder, or one parent carrying something of their own that ate most of what the house had to give. Under a roof like that, a kid gets very good very fast at scanning the room before saying a word. Is this a decent moment? Does now look like a safe time to want something? And once no comes back often enough, the child doesn't stop wanting. Nobody ever stops wanting. They just learn to shrink it down until it stops counting as asking. Sometimes the whole thing is quiet or still. Maybe nobody in the house was visibly stretched thin at all. Perhaps it was one throwaway line repeated until it set hard. A parent joking that this one was a handful, or letting out a sigh at the worst possible second mid-meltdown or holding them up, gently even, beside a sibling who never caused trouble. Kids handle nuance badly. They don't log it as a worn-out adult having a worn-out night. They log it as data on how much of them is allowed and then spend a few decades quietly trimming to fit. A researcher called Thomas Joyner has spent years on precisely this feeling within a clinical setting, and he gave it a real name, perceived burdensomeness. That word perceived is doing heavy lifting, by the way, because this was never an honest count of the room somebody occupies in anybody else's life. It's a stubborn belief that somehow got filed away as a checked and verified fact. Joyner's work treats the feeling seriously because it travels beside genuine disconnection and genuine distress, and not because the belief has any accuracy in it whatsoever. If that's landing harder than you expected, just pause the video and talk with a real person, a friend or a doctor or a crisis line tonight. Okay, deep breath. Back toward the everyday version of it, because almost nobody here's actually in crisis. They're simply worn down from feeling like a standing imposition. And this is roughly where it turns almost funny in a fairly bleak way. That kid growing up gets extremely good at canceling things ahead of time before anybody gets the chance to be annoyed. Cutting an evening short so nobody has to put up with you. Waving off help mid-struggle and visibly so because taking it might prove the whole theory right. Saying sorry to a server for asking what the soup actually had in it. You know full well who you are, and one move here deserves naming because it's sly. Doing something kind and then instantly knocking it down yourself before anybody gets a chance to react. I grabbed you a coffee. It's probably the wrong one. Ignore it. The kindness and the sorry land inside one breath. Like the whole gesture couldn't be left standing without a warranty bolted on it. Romance brings the whole machine to a boil faster than friendship does. Mostly because a partner is just there, daily, close enough that the sums have to run all the time instead of now and then. Getting ill turns into a small emergency of conscience. Not the illness so much as the part where somebody carries soup to you and shifts their whole evening round it. A partner offering comfort in a rough week can land like passing them a bill. And the cruelest version shows up when things are going well. Everything feels easy. Somebody is plainly glad to be there. And rather than settling into any of it, something in them quietly starts bracing for the charge. Because ease has never once turned up free in their experience. Now, this is nothing like actually being hard work, and that difference earns far more credit than it ever gets. Somebody who really does drain the people around them leaves a trail that says so. Friends easing away quietly, threads going cold, invitations that stop showing up at all. Somebody who only feels like a burden leaves the exact opposite trail behind them. People stay, they keep making contact. They go fondly exasperated at hearing for the 100th time that they really shouldn't have bothered. Evidence points one way and the feeling points another, and they keep backing the feeling for the sole reason that it arrived first. Here's the piece most advice on this walk straight past. Saying you aren't a burden hardly ever works because logic didn't build the belief. So logic alone rarely takes the belief apart. A child built the belief, doing sums on how much room was going spare in the house, and landing on a number that outlived its use by several decades. What actually starts shifting the belief runs quieter and slower than any pep talk. Letting somebody carry one box while you say, actually, yes, that would help, then staying in place while they visibly fail to go anywhere. It rarely comes as one big realization. It comes across dozens of small, boring rooms where the disaster you forecast simply doesn't show and the nervous system slowly amends its own small records. There's a strange sort of grief folded into this too, one nobody's really talking about. It's the grief of seeing how much of you went into managing an irritation other people weren't even feeling. Energy that could have gone into just being in a room like a person. Years of apologizing ahead of time for things nobody was ever cross about. That isn't a small loss. Give yourself room to be a bit sad about it, even midway through unlearning the whole thing. If you have really spent year after year as the dependable one, the one who apparently needs nothing at all, the one just apologizing for a second message, none of it proves a burden. It usually points to one thing, that you calculated far too young how much room you'd be given, and your own room widened long ago. What's the smallest thing you catch yourself apologizing for, the one that looks ridiculous the second you type it out? Put it in the comments. And if this is the kind of thing you want landing in your week, subscribe.